Hey guys, it's Maria Park, and this is Approach the Nerd, and we are here to do our Loki episode 3 talk because Loki episode 3 was like that Tinder date that went very, very badly, at least for Loki. Um, this was not a very long episode, which is interesting because I know that with the MCU shows on Disney Plus, they do vary in length. But a lot got compacted into this very short episode, so I guess I'm not too unhappy about it. Now, remember in episode 2, Loki literally jumped through the portal after Lady Loki, is what everyone's calling her. Again, if you watched my stream last week with Joe's Geek Show, we both are under the impression that this is actually really the Enchantress. And I mean, it's just a lot of evidence pointing towards the fact that it could be her. Even going by the comics and the backstory of the character, Sylvie is literally a concoction of Loki, or at least it made to believe that she's a concoction of Loki. There's one variant where she is a regular girl living in Oklahoma, and then Asgard comes because they basically reestablished themselves on Earth, and all of a sudden this girl Sylvie often just wakes up with powers. She has no idea why, but she just all of a sudden has the ability to enchant people's minds, and she's has all these different sorceress like powers. And Sylvie Lushton is kind of an anomaly because in some versions Loki says, actually I just want to know what it would be like to physically create someone, like a human being who believes that they're real and believes that they're Asgardian, just for the hell of it, because that's what Loki does. Loki is mischievous. He likes to do things that are abnormal. So her Sylvie Lushton being actually Lady Loki in this completely tracks with me. So I've been calling her Enchantress. I don't know if I'm correct, but I mean, even down to her hairstyle and hair color, she looks like Sylvie. She goes by Sylvie. I feel like it's Sylvie. But this is not the first time the MCU has pulled the wool over its fans' eyes, so this could literally be a completely different character. But for now, I'm calling her Enchantress. So after a little squabble between Loki and her, they actually end up using a tempad, or actually Loki uses the tempad because she's on her way to go to the timekeepers, and of course he was to take out the timekeepers, and he teleports them, but he teleports them to pretty much the worst place imaginable, which is Lamentus 1, a dying moon that's about to face destruction. So we already established through Loki and Mobius, in episode 2, that the variant likes to hang out and just exist in apocalypses or pre-apocalypse, right before the apocalypses are about to happen, like what happened in Pompeii. So I already know that how they're going to be saved off of this moon is going to be Mobius, because he's already told Mobius that that's how you can track the variant. So I don't even though it looked like, throughout this episode, them having to work together, them having to help each other to try and power the tempad or to try and, get off the moon. I don't feel like they're going to be stranded, even though the events played out like it's supposed to play out. The transport that was going to take people to safety ends up being hit and explodes. And so everybody essentially is going to die on the planet. But yeah, they're not, because again, Mobius knows about the Apocalypse series. So I'm completely 100% not worried about this. This is only episode 3 or 6 episodes. Loki's not going to die. But what's interesting is the stuff that we learned. Like when Sylvie was talking about being adopted and not knowing her mother, like all of these things keep tying into the fact that she doesn't know her history, that she doesn't understand, anything about herself. Because again, I feel like even though they think she's a Loki variant, I think she's actually more comic book Sylvie as a creation of Loki. Now, maybe not this Loki, but of a Loki. Something else I found interesting is they play around with the idea of illusions. We see in the very opening scene of this episode that Enchantress is trying to get information about, the Time Variant Agency from one of the agents. I think it was Hunter 20. I can't remember her name, but she basically taps into her psyche, and they're having margaritas, and it's a bar that the woman would have had to have known about, because Enchantress doesn't just put illusions in it. It looks like she takes them from your mind just to get her to talk and give her information. Well, the big thing about who's playing who calls into question throughout this entire episode, because when the Enchantress tries to use her powers, or power of persuasion or enchanting or try to enchant Loki, he's like, well, my mind is too strong. And I kept thinking, he's been very boastful before, and he's like, oh, I'm this and I'm that, and it's proven to not actually be the case. It's more of his own narcissism and and ego than anything else. So it made me wonder if this entire situation is an illusion created by her, or when there's this part where they're on the train, where Loki tries to get on a train with her to get to the ship so they can charge a TemPad. I'm wondering if when she went to sleep, if maybe Loki is actually creating an illusion for her, and all of this is not happening. The TemPad is not really damaged, and none of this is actually occurring, just so he can see what she's really about. Because he was sharing like a lot about his life, about his mother, about how he was growing up. He was singing this song, and they were having conversations about the meaning of love. It was literally like a Tinder date. It really was. And she was like being very guarded with her stuff. The only thing we know is she taught herself how to be an enchantress. She taught herself how to basically survive, because apparently the TVA has been after her for a very long time. And that she's adopted, and she doesn't really have memories of her mother. And I found that to be really interesting, especially when they were talking about Loki's mother. And I'm like, I hope they're not about to make her a lost sister, because right now it really looks like Loki and her have chemistry. And I just feel like it would be very weird for them to be all of a sudden siblings. But I mean, it's not like it didn't happen in Star Wars. I'm just saying. But yeah, so that was interesting. And then we learned that all the Minutemen and the agents, the TVA agents, they were regular people. So think of like WandaVision and the people living in this town, unassuming that they actually had whole other lives. Well, this is exactly what's happening in the TVA. They are literally pure, they're pulled from their lives, which is like explained by Enchantress. She's like, yeah, the agent, she was getting information about how to get to see the timekeepers. Yeah, that whole scene in the bar was reality. She actually liked margaritas. She actually lived as a normal human. And the timekeepers are pulling people, like variants themselves, into the agency and making them work, like literally like indentured servers. And they have no memory of it, which kind of explains why Mobius is so attached to like stuff from the 90s, like jet skis and things like that. Maybe that actually was his time period, and he actually used jet skis. So we're learning a lot. I know one of my theories is that the timekeepers are actually the time twisters, which are the very first, they're like the beta versions of the timekeepers, the ones that got everything wrong, which it still could possibly be them. But now I'm starting to think that maybe there's just a bunch of different Loki variants that are in there messing with time, because, if you have timekeepers that are Lokis and they want to get rid of all the competition, then you would make them timekeepers. There's so many things that could be happening in this show. So, and this is why I'm liking it. It's 6 episodes long. So we're going to get a lot of like, pretty much backstory. We're going to get a lot of revelations in a very short period of time, because we don't have a lot of time to deal with. But yeah, episode 3 was very eye-opening, because we got to see like everybody in the TVA, like literally all of them are actually people that were variants themselves. And that is very cool. And it makes you wonder what happens when they zap people, when they basically erase them. Are they erased, or are they basically recreated as TVA people? I mean, maybe that's how they recruit. You come in there, they erase you, and then all of a sudden you're working as an agent. So yeah, TVA is shady. Timekeepers, shady. Now we need to know what the Enchantress's real motivation is. What is she trying to accomplish? Honestly, she literally could be trying to figure out why they're after her and who she really is. Because if we go by the comics, she, again, as a creation of Loki, there's a huge identity issue of, am I real? Where do I actually come from? Where's my actual family? And since this Lady Loki / Enchantress doesn't have memories of her life. She doesn't have memories of her mother. She just knows she was adopted, and she taught herself everything she knows. Which honestly, I don't know if that's 100% true. I mean, how can that be true, to teach yourself everything? How do you just up and teach yourself magic without having magical ability? So yeah, there's a lot to that. And I really, really am looking forward to episode 4, because they got really deep with this episode. But again, the entire episode, I'm just going to say, it is like the Tinder date gone wrong. It's like two people on a blind date that have attraction for each other, but because of circumstances, everything around them is just crap, and they're thrown together and they have to work together, which may or may not actually be true, because one of them may be pulling an illusion on the other one. And I mean, let's be real, it wouldn't be the first time that Loki has done something like that. I mean, look at the first Avengers movie. He does it all the time. So, I mean, he could have this whole elaborate illusion going on for her benefit, to get her to tell him what she's actually after. Or she could actually be enchanting him this entire time as well to get the tempad. I mean, there's a lot that could be happening right now. None of this could be real. But if it is real, they are not going to be dropping that on, the moon for long, because Mobius knows about the apocalypse theory and how they hide in apocalypse. So he just has to scan them to see where the variant signals lie, and he will find them. And they have Loki's, I'm sure they have something of Loki's to be able to scan for him. Even if they don't have the rogue time variant, they do have Loki. So I think they're going to find them. And yeah, but I don't think Mobius is going to be too happy to learn that he's a variant and that he was a real person, because he even said in episode 2, we just came to be. I don't question it. I just go with it. And it's like, that's the problem. Why don't you question it? So yeah, there's a lot to this. There's a lot to episode 3. So I'm excited on where this is going, and I'm looking forward to the next episode. I hate that the seasons are so short. I said this with every series. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was really, really unhappy that it was so short, even though they got a lot accomplished in that one too, because they do get things accomplished. They don't leave them open-ended. I do like that. But it's like, there's so much more we could do, in this space. And with Loki, there's so much more I feel that can be accomplished in his series that he probably won't get to accomplish in just 6 episodes. So I don't know. That's just me. All right. Hi, Jermaine. How are you? I do like how they work together. Yes, I definitely like how they work together. Like I said, it's like, but it was almost like they were on a blind date. He was even serenading her. He was singing as Guardian, drunk off his butt, and then took a moment to sing this really sweet serenading part towards Sylvie, even said her name, and then went back to the drunking part of the song. And it was actually very cute. It was very cute. But Loki describing love like a dagger that's basically you can't hold on to, is not existing. There's a lot to that. But one thing I've always loved about Loki, no matter how evil he seems, whenever he talks about his mother, that's when his humanity, I guess is a good way of saying it, comes out, because he has a soft spot for Mama. So I do really appreciate that they did not take that out of him, even because like right now we are in the earlier stages of Loki still being an a-hole, because this is right after the first Avengers movie, when this timeline takes place. So yeah, I'm excited to see where they go. I never read the comics, so I wouldn't know. Yeah, there's a lot to her. And like, there's a lot of things that I hope happens, like the coat of arms becoming a thing, the Young Masters. She has a connection to the Young Avengers. She just has a really big role in the comics that I really need them to explore more in the MCU. But to be fair, I think we're going to get a lot of teams that we're used to. Like I'm completely down with Illuminati being in Secret Invasion. I'm completely cool if they bring the Young Avengers, which it looks like they're already doing. The Atlas Foundation has to be a thing because of all of the spoilers and hints they've been giving towards Wu's character, even in WandaVision, saying you're going to make a great leader. I mean, he's the leader of the Atlas Foundation, and the Atlas Foundation has a connection with Shang-Chi and a bunch of really cool characters that have not made it into the MCU, like Silk, which I heard is coming. Arden Cho. Like, there's so many. Amadeus Cho, not Arden Cho, Amadeus Cho. A bunch of really cool characters that are with the Atlas Foundation. White Fox, Arrow, Wave. I mean, there's so many cool characters that are going to be coming in. Especially that are of Asian descent that we would not normally be privy to without the Atlas Foundation. So I think we are going to get that. But I mean, if this truly is Enchantress, the Sylvie from the comics, then yeah, we will definitely have coat of arms, and we will more than likely with the Young Masters, and we'll have a connection to the Young Avengers. So, I mean, I just think all of that would be like a really good way of segueing all the characters in. So it'll be fun. You don't have to watch the comics to enjoy it. I just like throwing some of it out because some of it's connected like almost the same way in the comic book. So yeah, we saw Drunk Loki. I love Drunk Loki. I love Drunk Loki. It's almost as good as, you know, when he was dancing without the, but I really love Drunk Loki. How many seasons do you hope they do? I hope all of them get at least 2 seasons. I really feel like we could accomplish a lot more if we had extra seasons. I mean, if we had like Falcon and Winter Soldier, we get more of the bromance of Bucky and Sam. If we have, you know, WandaVision, I don't know what they would actually do with WandaVision outside of the White Vision storyline, because I don't think she's going to be taking people hostage anytime soon. I mean, they could roll that out to House of M. I don't know. And then we would have with Loki. I mean, it really depends on how they end Loki. Because remember, Loki is a separate timeline now. So, I mean, he's his own timeline. So the Loki that is doing all the poop in MCU is not the Loki that we're seeing right now in the TVA. Or running from the TVA, I guess, right now. So, yeah, it'll be a thing. It will be a thing. It wasn't an illusion when he got beaten on by Hulk. No, that was real life. That was real life. And that was funny as hell. Hulk body Loki. Yeah, he did this thing. I mean, let's be fair though. Hulk has this ability of not playing with folks, and people don't get that. My absolute favorite Hulk moment in the comics is when he went up against Wolverine. And I don't know what Wolverine did. They were fighting each other, but he just picked Wolverine up and just ripped him in half, literally just ripped his entire body in half. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Hulk doesn't play with these people. What we see in the MCU is scary. Yeah, he's strong. He can be aggressive. But in the comics, Hulk is a mean man. I'm like, Hulk does not give 5 Fs. So I am really excited for that. I'm excited for Hulk of the MCU to meet She-Hulk when her series comes out, because that'll be funny. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in the MCU. Right now, I'm calling him Professor Hulk. It reminds me a lot of Beast, and I'm really curious to see when they bring X-Men over into this universe how Beast and the current, you know, incarnation of Hulk will get along. That will be very funny. Just wait until what She-Hulk does. Like I said, I'm very looking forward to She-Hulk. I'm looking forward to seeing Hawkeye because I like Kate Bishop. And the only reason that I ever had a problem with the casting of America Chavez is because of her age. I'm not hating on her. I'm just saying that I wish they had cast her a little bit older, just because of the banter between Kate and America. We won't have that friendship because I can't see a 13 or 14-year-old talking the way she does to a 27-year-old. It would be very weird. When the comics, they're on the same, you know, they're around the same age. So it was a very funny relationship. So I don't know how they'll keep that in. But to be fair, the girl they cast for America Chavez, for, you know, Doctor Strange and Mouth of Madness probably won't even be. Well, you know what? I just said in the Mouth of Madness. I'm losing my mind. So we're just going to say Doctor Strange too. This is what anemia does, folks. But America Chavez's age may be, because she's part of the multiverse, it may be a younger version of her, and we may get an older version of her by the time we get to the Young Avengers. Because right now, Kate Bishop is, I guess, going to be in her 20s, but you got, you know, Wanda's twin boys that right now are non-existent, but will be reborn, you know, as Wiccan and Speed, and they have to be around the same age. And that's why I'm wondering what the timeline is. I'm wondering what the timeline is going to be with Hawkeye. If it's in the same timeline as the kids being babies, it's going to be very weird for Kate Bishop to be in Young Avengers. I'm just saying. So like I said, we don't know what the timeline is on all of these. Like WandaVision could be set 10 years or 15 years prior to when Hawkeye's TV series is going to be. I'm just curious. I wonder how this is going to work. Or maybe whatever's going to happen in the multiverse, which we know we're getting the Spider-Verse too, will reset time like Crisis in DC, and then everybody will be older. I don't know. It's a thing. I am curious to see how they're going to pull this off. I'm very curious. Because right now, 2 of the Young Avengers are not even of age. They're not even alive. So, yeah, it's a thing. Uh, uh, Beast has no chance against Hulk. True, true. But on a scientific level, I was thinking more of a merging of the minds. I wonder how that would be. Do you know when DS2 is filming? I don't. I don't know when anything is filming, unfortunately. I need to get more on track with this. But like right now, I think I want to say that they're getting ready to shoot Moon Knight, but that may be a lie. I don't know. I know Hawkeye's done. Hawkeye is finished production. I just don't know when anything else is. Question, is WandaVision part of X-Men? So WandaVision, in the comics, WandaVision is a concept for MCU. WandaVision was not a thing. It was House of M in the comics. And yes, Wanda herself was part of X-Men. In the comics, her and Pietro or Quicksilver were the children of Magneto. So their daddy's Magneto. Their sister is Polaris. And so they have a heavy connection with the X-Men. But because we don't have the X-Men yet in the MCU, we couldn't do a House of M storyline. We couldn't say no more mutants. So we pretty much got the whole Agatha Harkness, storyline being one of basically the main antagonists. But the problem with Agatha being the main antagonist is that in the comics, she actually was the one who trained Wanda on how to use her, Nexus being powers. So yeah, they MCU's kind of taken the canon and done the best they can because they didn't have the license right now for X-Men. So they rewrote some stuff and took some liberties. Like Agatha being the governess for Sue and Richards in Fantastic Four, and then their son being the one who went up against Mephisto and took his soul out of his body and made him into shards. And then later on, Wanda with Vision basically took those shards of Mephisto's soul and created her kids. And when they were still babies, Mephisto came in, destroyed the babies, and took his shards back. And it drove Wanda nuts. And that's how we got House of M. She literally said, no more mutants. She went nuts. And then after all that was said and done, it was Agatha that actually erased her memories to make her forget. She's like, well, I'm going to take all of this from you. So Agatha was very instrumental in helping Wanda in the comics. So her being like now I'm not saying she wasn't power hungry, because she was. She had a familiar named Ebony, a big, large cat that she pretty much killed because it had premonition powers to get the premonition powers. But she still was very instrumental to helping Wanda. But in the MCU, she's not. She's pretty much a villain. So they take liberties. They do take liberties at that. So, but yeah, I mean, now that we're getting ready to have the X-Men, I do wonder if we are going to eventually get a version of House of M, because she has a Darkhold. It could just be going in a different direction. I honestly would have loved it if she had said no more magic, and then that would have played into Doctor Strange too. He lost his ability to have magic, and there is a comic run where he travels around the multiverse, visiting different, dimensions, and going to different planets, like even the Utopian Parallel where America Chavez is from, to get people to try and teach them, him their magic, because he's lost his. And I thought that would be cool if that had been Wanda's fault, to tie that in. But I don't think that's what's happening. I don't actually know what's happening. So it is very intriguing. I'm intrigued by it. But at the same time, we still have not established the X-Men, and we still have not established the other players that we would need to have some of the bigger comic stories that we are destined to get. So, but like I said, I do have a lot of hope. I mean, they're doing this Easter egg thing, like at the end of WandaVision, where Monica Rambeau tells Jimmy, he's like, she's like, you are a leader. You are a great leader. You look good at, I can see the leadership in you. And I mean, if you know anything about his character, he is the head of the Atlas Foundation, and his rival is actually Yellow Claw, who was created by the Atlas Foundation to give Jimmy Woo more validation in the MCU or in the Marvel comics. Because back then when he was created, a Chinese man is not seen as a hero because he's a minority. So they wanted to build him up. And so the only way to build him up is to have him go against this secret international, terrorist of their own creation to make him look good, is basically what I'm saying. And I don't know if they're going to keep that storyline or not, but I mean, it's cool. It is cool. Best MCU villains thus far: Killmonger, Agatha, and Thanos, in that order. I agree. So far, I do agree with that. I wish Thanos had gone up against Squirrel Girl, though. That would have been effing hilarious. You just spoiled WandaVision. I didn't realize you didn't see it. I'm like, my bad. I mean, I don't know how I spoiled it. The internet probably spoiled that. It was everywhere. There was one YouTube video title across the land that didn't talk about Agatha. But if you have not seen it, Jermaine, then I apologize. But at this point, since we're on the third MCU series and you're watching Loki, we just assume that you saw it since they're all connected. So I apologize. I need a super scroll like now, but won't really land until Friday. Yeah. Well, the scrolls are going to be interesting in general. I'm looking forward to Captain Marvel 2. I need to see what's going on between her and Monica Rambeau, because that's something happened. Something happened. And they've been implying some heat with her since Spider-Man Far From Home. So I don't know what's going on with Captain Marvel, but yeah, it looks like she's ticked off a lot of people. I honestly think the reason Monica Rambeau is mad at Carol Danvers is because she ran off and took her mother into space, and her mother got cancer, and she probably never came back to visit her. I don't know. But I have seen DC Legends last night. That's cool. Fantastic Four meant sorry a patient came. That's fine. It's fine. I'm going to have this stream going for about 4 minutes. I'm trying to keep it at 30 minutes because I need to work on another video, and I also have to watch Kung Fu. I have not had a chance to do it, and I want to do the Kung Fu stream. I am going to review The Republic of Sarah as well, so that is coming. I just have to make the video for that. So I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Still not feeling that great, to be honest with you, but I want to make sure I get all these done today so I can go take a nap. So, yay. I'm so glad that Sarah is back. Yes, she is. Like I said, best proposal ever. If you watched my stream last night, we were talking about it. Best, goofiest, silliest, cutest proposal ever was in Legends. I love it. And I love Sarah and Ava so much, it's not even funny. They are adorable. All right. So final opinions, though, on Loki, episode 3. Is that we are dealing with Enchantress. Very good episode. Again, very short. It literally was a Tinder date. They could have literally called this the date, and I would have believed it. I do think that Mobius is going to probably join up with them, because when he realizes that he's a variant and not real, I think the effects of that are going to be very damaging for him, because he is such a laid back person. And yeah, that definitely is going to play out with his character. I also believe he's the one that's going to save them if they really are trapped on that moon, which I'm not certain of. I still don't know if this is all an illusion, if the Tempat is actually fine, if they're able to get out whenever, I don't know. It's really up to Loki, really, if that's really what's playing out, because I don't think that she enchanted him in this regard. It might be the other way around, but who knows? I'm very curious. But I do know one thing: the timekeepers are shady, and they could be the time twisters. That's my first theory. They're really the time twisters, not the timekeepers. And the other theory is maybe they're just a bunch of variant Lokis that are just jealous of other Lokis coming and trying to kill them or get rid of them, basically. And so they're just being proactive and killing all of the other Lokis before they even have a chance to think about it. So that could be a thing. So there's a lot going on in this episode. But as always, I kind of want to know what your theories are and what your questions are. So, put them in the comments down below, because that's where they belong. And we just need to talk about Loki. Hopefully I'll have another chance to collaborate with Joe. We couldn't make our schedules work out today, but we'll see if we can do it next week. We'll see. I also need to do some videos for his channel. So that's Joe's Geek Show. And, we just have a lot of similar ideas on what's going on in Loki. So that would be nice to talk about and joke about. Also, we should have our charm stream tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to try this afternoon to do a Kung Fu stream. I just have to watch the show first, because I did not have a chance to watch it yesterday. So I need to watch it, take some notes, and then I'll try and get a stream going. Let's see, it is now my time, noon. So maybe around 4 or 5. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, if it is day for you, have a good day. If it is evening for you, have a good evening. And I will see you at the next stream.